My boss forced unpaid overtime for 6 months. The time-stamped project exports calculated a $58,300 settlement. It's 11:47 p.m. on a Thursday, and Owen's still at his desk finishing a presentation that Mark demanded, first thing tomorrow. The office is dark except for his monitor's glow casting shadows across his exhausted face. This is his third consecutive 16-hour day this week, and he can barely keep his eyes open. The coffee has stopped working hours ago. Mark walks past with a fresh cup, stopping at Owen's cubicle. Deadline's tomorrow morning, Owen. No one leaves until it's done. Owen's voice comes out hoarse and defeated. You said that yesterday. Mark's smile doesn't reach his eyes, cold and dismissive. And I'm saying it again today. That's what commitment looks like. He disappears into his corner office, leaving Owen alone with the humming fluorescent lights. The next morning, Owen checks his pay stub online during his commute on the crowded train. His stomach drops as he scrolls through the breakdown, no overtime pay. Again. 6 months of 60-hour weeks, and every paycheck shows the same 40 hours. His hands shake as he closes the app. Owen schedules a meeting with HR first thing Monday morning, hoping for answers or at least acknowledgement. Jessica welcomes him into her sterile office with a practiced smile and gestures to the chair across from her desk. He explains the hours, the exhaustion, the weekends sacrificed, the missing overtime pay. She listens with her head tilted sympathetically, but her eyes are calculating. She interrupts gently before he can finish. Owen, you're classified as salaried exempt. That means we all make sacrifices for the team's success. She slides a copy of his employment contract across the desk, her manicured finger highlighting the classification section. Owen's hands shake as he reads the words he signed 2 years ago without fully understanding. The corporate jargon blurs together. But 6 months of consistent 60-hour weeks, that can't be legal, he protests weakly. Jessica's smile tightens. That's the commitment level we expect here. It's what separates good employees from great ones. As Owen leaves her office, defeated and confused, a coworker named Priya catches his eye in the hallway. She doesn't speak, just mouths one word, later. Monday morning all-hands meeting, 9 a.m. sharp. Mark stands at the front of the conference room, practically glowing with excitement. Team, we just landed the Pinnacle account, biggest client in company history. This is career-defining work. The room erupts in applause and excited chatter. Mark grins, soaking in the attention. Now, this means long nights, weekend pushes, some personal sacrifice, but the payoff will absolutely be worth it. His eyes land on Owen. Owen, you'll be managing all data analytics, client reporting, and technical documentation for the project. Owen's stomach sinks. That's essentially 3 full-time positions. Over the next month, Owen builds the entire project framework from scratch: data pipelines, automated reporting systems, comprehensive documentation. He works until midnight most nights, comes in on Saturdays. At the big client presentation 4 weeks later, Mark presents everything as his own strategic vision, using phrases like "my approach" and "my methodology." The client is thoroughly impressed. Mark receives a standing ovation from the executive team. Owen sits in the back row, exhausted and invisible, watching his work get stolen in real time. 3 months deep into the Pinnacle project, Owen's body finally gives out. It's 3 a.m. on a Wednesday, and he's been working for 19 consecutive hours trying to meet another impossible deadline Mark created by overpromising to the client. His vision blurs. His head drops forward. He falls asleep right there at his desk, face nearly hitting the keyboard. He wakes to bright camera flashes. Mark is standing over him with his phone out, photographing Owen's unconscious form slumped over his workspace. Well. Sleeping on company time, Owen? That's pretty unacceptable, don't you think? Mark's voice drips with false concern and barely concealed delight. Owen stammers an explanation about the hours, the deadline, the exhaustion. Mark waves him off dismissively. Save it for HR. This is a serious violation of company policy. 2 days later, Jessica emails Owen an official written warning for unprofessional conduct and misuse of company time during business hours. Owen stares at the email in his inbox, reading it 3 times. Disbelief slowly morphs into something darker, rage. He worked 19 straight hours, and now he's being formally disciplined for the 2 minutes he couldn't keep his eyes open. Priya finds Owen in the break room at lunch, staring blankly at a sandwich he hasn't touched. She sits down carefully, glancing around to make sure they're alone. "They did the exact same thing to me last year," she says quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Worked me to the bone for 8 months, then wrote me up right before bonus season." Owen looks at her, seeing the understanding in her eyes. "Why would they do that?" His voice cracks slightly. Priya's expression hardens with old anger. "Because if they fire you for cause, with documented violations, they don't owe you severance or annual bonus. You've been here 6 months past your 1-year mark now, right?" Owen nods slowly. "That means you're eligible for the annual bonus pool now. They're setting you up to fire you without paying it." Owen's chest tightens as the full picture becomes clear. This isn't incompetence or miscommunication, it's systematic. It's intentional. Priya leans in closer, her voice dropping even lower. "But there's a way to fight back. You just have to be smarter than they are. Meet me in the parking garage after work. I'll show you something they don't know we know about." That evening at 6:30, Priya meets Owen in the dimly lit parking garage, her laptop already open. She shows him something on the screen, the company's project management software interface, but sections he's never noticed before. "Every single task you complete gets automatically logged with a timestamp," she explains, clicking through menus. "Login times, file uploads, project commits, code pushes, all of it gets recorded with your user ID and exact timestamp down to the second." Owen's eyes widen as understanding dawns. "Can they delete that?" Priya shakes her head firmly. "It's baked into the system architecture for client billing and compliance. Admin accounts can't touch timestamp metadata without triggering internal audit flags. The IT director is paranoid about data integrity." She walks him through the export process step by step: navigate to admin panel, select date range, choose export format, download. Owen watches 6 months of his life appear in neat spreadsheet rows. Each entry shows his user ID, task description, and precise timestamp. The data is irrefutable: 1,247 hours of unpaid overtime, documented down to the minute. His sacrifice, quantified in cold data. It's beautiful. At home that night, Owen spreads the exported data across his laptop screen, analyzing it with the focus he usually reserves for client projects. Every late night is there in digital ink: the 16-hour shifts that became routine, the weekend marathons that destroyed his personal life, the holidays he worked through while his family celebrated without him. He cross-references the timestamps with his pay stubs, creating a comparison chart. The math is brutal and inescapable: 1,247 hours at time-and-a-half overtime rates based on his calculated hourly rate equals approximately $58,300 in stolen wages. Owen's hands shake as he saves the files, overwhelmed by the dollar amount attached to his exhaustion. He creates an encrypted backup on a secure cloud drive with 2-factor authentication. Then another backup on an external hard drive that he disconnects and hides in his apartment between books on his shelf. He labels the cloud folder project_Everest_backup as a private reminder of the mountain he's about to climb. His phone buzzes, Mark, demanding weekend status updates at 11:47 p.m. on a Friday. Owen screenshots the message, notes the timestamp, and adds it to his growing evidence folder. The game has changed. He's not a victim anymore, he's building a case. Friday afternoon, Mark announces another, critical weekend crunch for the Pinnacle project with his usual dramatic flair. Owen nods along, but this time something's different in his eyes, something calculating and cold. He's become strategic, methodical. He starts forwarding every single task completion email to his personal account, ensuring timestamps remain intact in the metadata. He screenshots every late-night message from Mark, every unreasonable demand, every moved deadline. When Mark assigns him a major deliverable due Monday morning at 8 a.m. sharp, handed to him Friday at 4 p.m., Owen replies professionally via email, confirmed. I will work Saturday and Sunday to meet the Monday 8 a.m. deadline as requested. He BCCs his personal email address. Everything is documented now. Everything is evidence. During a routine Monday morning status meeting, Jessica pulls Owen aside into a small conference room. Her expression is harder than usual, less practiced. I've noticed you've been documenting internal communications very extensively lately. That's concerning to us, Owen. It suggests a lack of trust in your colleagues. Owen meets her gaze calmly, his voice steady and professional. Just staying organized and ensuring clear communication, Jessica. Isn't that what we're supposed to do? She doesn't have a good answer for that. Tuesday morning, Jessica calls Owen into her office with Mark already seated there waiting. The setup is obvious and intimidating. We need to discuss some concerns about your recent attitude and performance, Mark begins, his tone suggesting disappointment rather than anger, a manipulation tactic Owen now recognizes. Owen stays silent, letting them talk. Jessica slides a formal document across the desk, performance improvement plan, printed in bold letters across the top. Owen scans it carefully, vague accusations of resistance to constructive feedback, lack of alignment with team culture, and concerning pattern of defensive behavior. There's nothing concrete, nothing provable, just corporate language designed to create a paper trail for termination. Mark leans forward with false concern etched on his face. Frankly, Owen, we're seriously questioning whether you're a good cultural fit for this organization anymore. Owen's heart pounds in his chest, but his voice comes out steady and calm. Can I get a copy of this documentation in writing to review thoroughly? Jessica hesitates, exchanging a quick glance with Mark. This is your official copy. Owen pulls out his phone deliberately and places it on the desk. I'd like to record this conversation for accuracy and clarity. Is that acceptable? Mark's face flushes red instantly. That won't be necessary, Owen. I think we're done here for now. They dismiss him quickly, off balance. Chad, a coworker who's been superficially friendly with Owen for months, approaches Mark privately after observing Owen's increasingly careful documentation habits. Hoping to secure his own position and maybe score points with management, Chad casually mentions he overheard Priya and Owen discussing something called Project Everest in the parking garage last week. Mark's interest sharpens immediately, his predatory instincts kicking in. The next day, Mark calls Owen to his office for a quick sync on project status. While Owen explains a technical detail about the Pinnacle account, Mark creates a distraction by pointing at his computer screen, asking Owen to look at supposed data discrepancies. While Owen's attention is diverted, Mark smoothly swipes the USB drive Owen left on the corner of the desk. That evening, Mark plugs the drive into his home computer, finding the folder labeled Project_Everest. He deletes every file, permanently empties the recycle bin, and smirks with satisfaction. He has no idea Owen labeled it Project_Everest_decoy for exactly this scenario, a trap for thieves. Owen discovers the missing drive the next morning and allows himself a small, private smile. The real evidence is safe in 3 separate encrypted locations Mark doesn't know exist. Let him think he's won. That evening, Owen methodically verifies all his backup systems, cloud storage with complete version history showing every save, external hard drive hidden at home, and a third copy on Priya's secure server that even she can't access without his encryption key. The paranoia has paid off. While reviewing the files for the 10th time, Owen discovers something that makes his blood run cold: metadata audit logs showing Mark's admin account edited Owen's time card entries in the payroll system 12 separate times over the past 6 months. Each edit is time-stamped with Mark's user ID. Each edit systematically reduced Owen's recorded hours, converting overtime hours into regular hours. This isn't just exploitation or poor management, it's deliberate, premeditated fraud. Owen saves the audit logs showing Mark's user ID, the exact timestamp of each edit, and the before and after hour values. He photographs everything with his phone camera as yet another backup layer, then uploads those photos to a separate cloud account. He texts his brother, who works as a paralegal at a downtown firm, "I need a labor attorney. A really good one. This is serious." His brother responds within minutes with a name: Rebecca Martinez, specialist in employment law and wage theft cases. Rebecca Martinez's office is small but professional, filled with legal books and case files. She reviews Owen's documentation in silence, her eyebrows rising higher with each page she turns. The timestamp exports, the audit logs showing Mark's edits, the retaliatory emails, the forged timecards. This is absolutely textbook wage theft, falsification of payroll records, and clear retaliation, she finally says, looking up at Owen with something like awe. "I've been practicing employment law for 15 years, and I've never seen documentation this thorough. Most cases are he said she said nightmares. You have metadata, audit trails, system logs. This is gold." Owen feels validation flooding through him for the first time in months. Someone believes him. Someone sees it. Rebecca leans forward, her expression turning serious and strategic. "Here's what we do: don't quit under any circumstances. Don't confront them directly yet. Keep doing your job at an acceptable level and keep gathering evidence. If they fire you now, that's wrongful termination and retaliation. If you quit, they'll claim you were just a disgruntled employee making things up." Owen nods, understanding the strategy. "How much longer?" Rebecca's smile is grim and knowing. "Give it 2 more weeks maximum. Let them hang themselves with their own rope. Document everything. Then we strike." The following Monday, Mark assigns Owen to the company's most prestigious project yet, a government contract with strict federal compliance requirements and mandatory detailed time tracking for audit purposes. The irony is almost poetic. Mark explains that the contract requires detailed labor logs that the company must certify as accurate under penalty of federal law. Owen accepts the assignment calmly, internally recognizing this is absolutely perfect for his case. Over the next 2 weeks, he works excessive hours again, late nights, early mornings, weekend sessions, but this time he meticulously documents every single minute with timestamps. He tracks his time in 3 separate systems: the company software, a personal spreadsheet, and handwritten notes. While preparing the government compliance reports, Owen discovers something damning: Mark is falsifying the labor logs submitted to the federal client, systematically underreporting hours worked to make the project appear more profitable than it actually is. This isn't just wage theft anymore, it's federal contract fraud, a whole different level of legal exposure. Owen quietly exports the real timestamps showing actual hours worked and saves the falsified reports Mark submitted to the government client. The discrepancies are glaring and undeniable. The evidence is absolutely devastating. He sends everything to Rebecca with a simple message: "Found something bigger." Owen creates his final, comprehensive evidence package: complete timestamp exports covering 8 months, detailed audit logs showing Mark's 12 timecard edits with his admin credentials, falsified government compliance reports with side-by-side comparisons to actual hours, retaliatory emails, and the bogus performance improvement plan, and Jessica's complicit HR documentation. He meticulously organizes everything into folders with clear labels and executive summaries. He saves the complete package on a USB drive but labels it innocuously: q3_client_meeting_slides.pptx so it won't draw attention. He also sends the full package to Rebecca's secure server as backup. During a routine Tuesday meeting, Mark asks Owen to prepare a comprehensive presentation for the Pinnacle client's quarterly review next week. Make it impressive, Owen. This is your chance to really prove yourself and show you're still committed to this team, Mark says with condescending encouragement. Owen nods obediently. I'll put together something memorable. Something they won't forget. He spends the next 3 days preparing 2 presentations. One legitimate client deck with charts and progress metrics, and one that will change absolutely everything. On the morning of the presentation, Owen deliberately hands Mark the wrong USB drive, the one labeled Pinnacle_Final_Presentation. Mark doesn't check it, why would he? Owen has never given him reason not to trust. The Pinnacle client quarterly review fills the main executive conference room. 12 people attend, the client's CEO and legal counsel, their project manager, Mark, Jessica, Owen, and several other company executives. Mark opens his laptop confidently, inserting Owen's USB drive and connecting to the projector. Let me show you the incredible progress we've made this quarter, Mark begins smoothly, clicking through slides. The first few slides show professional graphs, milestone timelines, and deliverable summaries. The client nods approvingly. Then slide 12 appears on the massive screen, actual hours worked versus reported hours, 6-month analysis. A detailed spreadsheet fills the projection, showing 1,247 hours of unpaid overtime with precise timestamps and user IDs. Slide 13 follows immediately, timecard falsifications, administrative edit log, showing Mark's user ID next to 12 different edits. Mark's face drains of all color instantly. He lunges for the laptop, trying to close it, but the client's lead counsel is already photographing the screen with her phone. Jessica stands abruptly, her chair scraping loudly. The client's CEO raises his hand for silence, his expression transformed from pleasant to ice-cold. We'll be pausing this contract immediately pending a thorough investigation. Leave the presentation file. The room erupts in chaos as Mark tries to explain, to deflect, to blame anyone else. The conference room descends into controlled chaos. The client's legal team demands immediate copies of everything on that USB drive. Mark tries desperately to claim it's all a mistake, a disgruntled employee's elaborate fabrication designed to sabotage him. Jessica attempts to position herself as equally shocked and victimized. Owen speaks for the first time during the entire meeting, his voice calm and clear. Those are system-generated timestamps with authenticated metadata. They can be independently verified through the company's own servers. I'm happy to provide admin access for verification. The client's IT director, who's been silent until now, nods slowly with professional recognition. He's right. System timestamps with proper metadata can't be fabricated or edited without leaving forensic traces. These appear legitimate. Jessica tries damage control, her voice pitchy. We'll launch an internal investigation immediately and get to the bottom of this. The client's CEO cuts her off sharply. No. Our legal team will be investigating this with federal labor authorities. This appears to be contract fraud, and we have a legal obligation to report it. Mark points at Owen with a shaking finger, his voice rising to near shouting, he sabotaged this entire thing. He's trying to destroy me because I held him accountable. Owen stands calmly, gathers his notebook and phone, and walks toward the door. Behind him, Mark's shouts echo down the hallway as security is called. Owen doesn't look back. Corporate headquarters launches an immediate emergency investigation within hours of the client meeting disaster. Mark is placed on administrative leave by end of business day, escorted from the building by security. Jessica is reassigned to a different department pending review, effectively stripped of her HR authority. The company hires an external forensic accounting firm to conduct a comprehensive audit of all payroll records and timekeeping systems for the past 3 years. Owen receives a call from corporate legal that evening, asking him to preserve all evidence in his possession and make himself available for interviews with investigators. He calmly forwards them Rebecca Martinez's contact information and tells them all communication should go through his attorney. Over the next week, the investigation expands exponentially as forensic auditors dig deeper. The audit reveals Mark didn't just edit Owen's timecards, he edited timecard records for 7 other employees across different projects, not just Pinnacle. Combined, the wage theft totals over $200,000. Other employees, emboldened by Owen's exposure, begin coming forward with their own stories of exploitation and stolen wages. Owen watches from home on paid administrative leave as the company he once believed in and sacrificed for crumbles under the weight of systematic fraud. Local business press picks up the story, tech company under investigation for alleged wage theft. 3 long weeks pass in strange limbo. Owen stays home on paid administrative leave while the investigation grinds forward. He doesn't hear anything from Mark or Jessica directly, just silence. Rumors spread rapidly through his professional network and former co-workers who text him updates. Mark hired an expensive defense lawyer, Jessica resigned quietly with a confidential settlement, the Pinnacle client terminated their multi-million-dollar contract and is considering a separate lawsuit for fraud. The company's stock price drops 12%. One afternoon, a certified letter arrives requiring Owen's signature. His hands shake slightly as he opens the thick envelope. Inside is a formal settlement proposal from the company's legal department, $8,000 payment, a neutral reference letter, and a comprehensive confidentiality agreement that prohibits him from discussing the case publicly, with media, or with other current or former employees. Owen reads it twice, then a third time, his anger building. They think they can pay him $8,000 for 6 months of stolen wages and stolen life? His voice is ice when he calls Rebecca. They offered $8,000. Rebecca laughs, dark and knowing. They're testing you. They want to see if you'll fold cheap. Reject it immediately and counterfile. We're not playing their game anymore. Owen drafts his response through Rebecca's office. The settlement offer is rejected in its entirety with prejudice. Instead of accepting their insulting offer, Owen files a formal wage theft complaint with the State Department of Labor, attaching over 200 pages of meticulously organized evidence. He simultaneously files a separate complaint with the Federal Department of Labor specifically regarding the government contract fraud and falsified compliance reports. He also files a retaliation complaint with the EEOC documenting the performance improvement plan, the written warning, and the threatened termination. Each filing is comprehensive, cross-referenced, and backed by irrefutable timestamp data and metadata. The company's legal team responds frantically within 48 hours, offering $15,000 with confidentiality. Owen rejects it. They counter at $25,000. Rejected. They offer $40,000 with increasingly desperate language. Rejected again. Each offer comes with the same confidentiality requirement. They're terrified of this becoming public knowledge. Rebecca explains the strategy clearly. They're absolutely terrified, Owen. If this story goes public in detail, they face class action lawsuits from other employees, massive federal fines for contract fraud, criminal charges for payroll fraud, and complete destruction of their corporate reputation and client relationships. They'll eventually pay exactly what you're actually owed. We just have to wait them out and let the pressure build. The Department of Labor investigation is their worst nightmare. The Department of Labor launches a comprehensive full audit of the company based on Owen's detailed complaints. Federal and state investigators interview current and former employees, many of whom confirm similar patterns of unpaid overtime and timecard manipulation. They subpoena complete payroll records, system access logs, email servers, and financial statements. Every single timestamp Owen provided is independently verified and cross-referenced against the company's own systems. Everything matches perfectly. The audit scope expands to cover 3 full years of potentially fraudulent timekeeping practices affecting dozens of employees. News breaks in the local business press. then gets picked up nationally, mid-size tech company under federal investigation for systematic wage theft and contract fraud. The company's stock plummets another 15%. Major clients pause contracts pending investigation outcomes. Mark's LinkedIn profile completely disappears overnight. Jessica deletes all her social media accounts. Owen receives dozens of calls and messages from former co-workers thanking him, many with tears in their voices. They're included in the investigation now, their stolen wages finally being calculated and validated. Some describe working conditions even worse than Owen experienced. The dominoes are falling in exactly the pattern Rebecca predicted. The company that seemed invincible 6 months ago is collapsing under the weight of its own systematic exploitation. The Department of Labor issues preliminary findings that shock even the investigators: systematic wage theft affecting 23 current and former employees over a 3-year period, totaling $287,000 in unpaid overtime wages. The company faces potential fines exceeding $500,000, plus mandatory back payment of all wages, plus penalties and interest. The board of directors holds an emergency meeting and forces the CEO to resign, making him the scapegoat for failing to maintain proper oversight of management practices. Jessica's quiet resignation becomes public record, along with the fact she received a settlement. Mark is officially terminated for cause, losing all his unvested stock options and performance bonuses, everything he worked years to accumulate. The company issues a carefully worded public statement admitting to payroll irregularities and management oversight failures, and committing to make all affected employees whole and implement comprehensive reforms. Rebecca calls Owen with an update, her voice carrying barely restrained triumph. They're ready to settle properly now. They absolutely cannot afford to let this go to trial with media coverage. The board has authorized settlement negotiations. Owen feels no satisfaction or joy, just deep exhaustion and emptiness. 6 months of his life stolen, and it took complete corporate collapse to get basic justice. What are my options now? He asks quietly. Rebecca's voice becomes firm and professional. We calculate exactly what they owe you down to the dollar, and they pay every cent. No confidentiality clause this time. You control your own story. Rebecca's legal team works closely with forensic accountants to calculate Owen's exact settlement amount. The timestamp data makes it straightforward: 1,247 hours of overtime at time-and-a-half rate based on Owen's calculated hourly rate from his salary equals $58,293 in unpaid base wages. Add statutory penalties under federal and state law, accumulated interest calculated monthly, and reasonable compensation for documented emotional distress, and the total demand reaches $73,000. The company's lawyers initially try to dispute the calculations, claiming some hours were voluntary, or that Owen's exempt salary classification was legitimately applied under FLSA regulations. Rebecca systematically destroys each argument. She presents the metadata showing Mark's deliberate time card edits, the falsified government reports proving the hours were required not voluntary, and email evidence of threatened termination for refusing overtime. She adds that Owen is prepared to testify in detail about the systemic exploitation. The company's lawyers go completely silent for 3 days. When they respond, they accept the full settlement amount without further negotiation. $73,000 plus Rebecca's legal fees totaling another $18,000. Owen stares at the settlement agreement on Rebecca's desk, a check that actually reflects the value of his stolen time and stolen life. It's not justice, not really, but it's acknowledgement. After 6 months of gaslighting, someone official has finally admitted he was right. Owen's bank account receives the direct deposit on a Tuesday morning. $73,000. He sits in his apartment, staring at the number on his phone screen. 6 months of systematic exploitation, of destroyed health and damaged relationships, reduced to digits in an account. It feels simultaneously too much and not nearly enough. He transfers $10,000 to a nonprofit organization that provides free legal aid to overworked employees who can't afford attorneys. He pays off the credit cards that ballooned to $8,000 while he was surviving on no overtime pay and couldn't afford basic expenses. He books a 2-week vacation to Colorado, his first real vacation in 3 years. His phone buzzes with a message from an unknown number. He almost deletes it, then recognizes the tone. It's Mark. You destroyed my entire career. I hope you're proud of yourself. I have a family. Owen stares at the message for a long moment, decades of conditioning telling him to feel guilty, to apologize, to smooth things over. Then he remembers the 3 a.m. nights, the stolen credit, the humiliation, the deliberate fraud. He types a careful response, "No, Mark. You destroyed your own career when you systematically stole from your employees and falsified federal records. I just documented what you chose to do." He blocks the number immediately, feeling lighter than he has in months. Owen updates his LinkedIn profile with a simple, carefully worded professional post. After 6 months of reflection, legal resolution, and personal growth, I'm grateful for the difficult experience that taught me to always document your work, especially your time. Value yourself enough to know what you're worth, and never let anyone convince you that your labor and time have no value. He doesn't name the company. He doesn't name Mark. He doesn't have to. The post goes viral within hours. Thousands of workers share it with their own stories of exploitation, stolen wages, forced overtime, and corporate gaslighting. The comments section becomes a support group. News outlets and employment blogs reach out for interviews. Owen declines most requests, but agrees to one podcast focused specifically on workers' rights and labor law. During the interview, he's calm and factual, speaking in measured tones. He never mentions the company by name but explains in detail the importance of documentation, understanding employment classification, and knowing your rights under FLSA. He talks about timestamp metadata, audit logs, and how to preserve evidence. The episode is downloaded 500,000 times in the first week. Owen becomes an unexpected advocate and voice for exploited workers everywhere. His inbox floods with requests for advice, help, and guidance from people trapped in similar situations. 6 months later, Owen launches Everest Advocacy, a consulting firm dedicated to helping employees document workplace violations, understand their legal rights, and connect with qualified employment attorneys. His first public seminar is held in a community center and attracts over 200 people, overworked professionals, desperate for guidance and validation. Owen teaches them the technical skills, how to export digital timestamps from common project management systems, how to preserve evidence properly with metadata intact, how to document retaliation, and how to understand their rights under the Fair Labor Standards Act. He brings in attorneys and labor organizers as guest speakers. During his closing remarks, he shares his own story briefly but powerfully. "I didn't fight to destroy anyone or get revenge. I fought because I finally remembered my own worth. Your time has measurable value. Your labor has economic value. Your dignity has immeasurable value. Don't let anyone, not your boss, not HR, not company policy, convince you otherwise." The audience gives him a standing ovation. After the seminar ends, Owen closes his laptop in the empty community center. The time stamp on his screen reads 5:58 p.m. He smiles to himself, packs up his materials carefully, and walks out into the evening light. He's clocking out on his own terms now, finally free from the exploitation that once defined his life. The mountain has been climbed.